Hey guys, this is Sakshi and I welcome you all to my edutech platform, Way to Learn. So this here is my Telegram link. You can join the Telegram channel and you can share your problems and we can also solve together. So like my videos if you like them, share and subscribe my channel. Okay, do not forget to subscribe if you're a new viewer and do not forget to hit the bell. So let us start with quantum mechanics part 5. So in my last video we had some few basic important properties of photoelectric effect and Compton effect. So now in this video we'll again see a few basic but important points in quantum mechanics which are like you will see questions on them. Those are very basic questions, but if we do not know these formulas it will be very difficult for us to solve. So let us go into our video. So this is one of the important formula, Heisenberg uncertainty principle, and this is one of the important like principle in quantum mechanics, uh, which says whether the particle is present or not. Okay, because of this, quantum mechanics was developed more. So Heisenberg uncertainty principle is basically given as this: in base of normal operators, when you do not use position, momentum, energy, time, instead of that, if you have just some basic operator, you can use this formula for Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So here delta A is the uncertainty in A, operator A, and delta B is the uncertainty in operator B. So you can use this. Here delta A is given as root of expectation value of A square minus expectation value of A the whole square. Similarly B has the same form. So these are the basic things, but we usually see Heisenberg uncertainty principle in these three forms. We can say that in this first one, you can say basically that the position and momentum cannot be simultaneously measured, right? We cannot measure the both for a particle at the same time. So if I say that if I'm measuring the momentum of the particle, then I would say that because it goes in the microscopic range, so it will be a difficulty in measuring both the quantities at the same time. So this is what Heisenberg suggested, and he says that del x or del px is greater than equal to h cross by 2. So remember this h cross by 2. Mostly in most of the equations when we solve, there will be h cross directly. We do not know when to use h cross, when to use h cross by 2 or when to use h by 2 pi. What is the exact value, right? So minimum uncertainty is basically is equal to h cross by 2. Okay, so if you do h cross by 2, it would be 1.054 divided by 2, right? So this will be the minimum uncertainty. So if you have a question regarding this uncertainty principle and you have to use a quantity here, you can first use h cross by 2. Only if nothing is given in the question. Sometimes they may give a quantity like okay del x or del px is greater than h cross. If they give h cross the quantity h cross, then you can use that. Otherwise, you are free to use this particular equation, because the minimum uncertainty is equal to h cross by 2. You can also use that in many books. You can also see that when they solve a problem, they use del x or del px is equal to h cross or equal to h anything. Okay, you can use because they all are greater than h cross by 2. So you can use any quantity which is greater than h cross by 2, but it should not be lesser than h cross by 2 because the minimum uncertainty is equal to h cross by 2. You have to remember this. So now if I say in the first equation, our commutator is equal to 0. So what does that tell us? Our commutator over here is 0. Then I can say that the uncertainty of A and uncertainty in B is 0. If you see here, A and B is 0, then obviously this equation will be 0 and del A or del B will be equal to 0. So I can say that the uncertainty is 0 and I can therefore say that they can be simultaneously measured. I can measure these two quantities at the same time. Only if their commutators goes to 0. Only if they commute. Okay, so this is a basic formula required. You have to remember this del A and del B formula. It can be helpful in some other problems too. and del x dot del px. These are three basic things. You have to just remember that you can use h cross by 2 or any quantity greater than that. Okay, next we will just go into a new topic, which is group velocity and phase velocity. So before that, you just learn that single plane wave is given as a single plane wave as drawn here. And what is a wave packet is superposition of waves. Okay, I have first wave, second wave, and third wave. And now when I compare these, like combine these three waves, I get my wave packet. Okay, so this is called as superposition of waves. And this is the wave packet given over here. So I can say that if my particle is present in this wave packet, it can be in any region. It can be in this first wave function, it can be in the second wave function, it can be in the third wave function. So therefore, if I say that my particle is in this particular wave packet, so if I want to measure the momentum of that particular particle, then here Heisenberg uncertainty plays a role. Because the momentum, if I'm going to measure the momentum and position at the same time, the position of the particle can vary. Because it is inside the wave packet, but it can be in any wave function. It can be in psi 1, psi 2, psi 3. Right? But it will be inside the wave packet. So you wouldn't be able to like exactly find the position of the particle when you're measuring the momentum. So Heisenberg uncertainty principle is very much useful for describing this wave packet. Yeah. So let us see the phase velocity and group velocity. So phase velocity, or also called as wave velocity, is the velocity of a single plane wave. The single plane wave which was shown first, that is the velocity of that wave is called phase velocity, and it is given by Vp is equal to omega by k, which is equal to E by P. This omega by k can be derived from any dispersion relation. Okay, it's up to you. It's up to our solving capability how to use a given equation in terms of Vp. Okay, and then let us see group velocity. It is the velocity of wave packet. So Vg will be d omega by dk, and in terms of energy and momentum is dE by dP. You have to remember these two formulas. It is very important for you to solve a problem. So a relation between Vg and Vp is given as Vg is equal to Vp minus lambda dVp by d lambda. Now if I say that dV by d lambda is equal to 0, that is my phase velocity does not depend on the wavelength, then I'll consider the dVp by d lambda is 0, then obviously Vg will be equal to Vp. So when Vg is equal to Vp, that medium will be called as non-dispersive medium. So you have to remember, whenever Vg group velocity is equal to phase velocity, then that particular medium is non-dispersive. So for dispersive medium, it's opposite. dVp by d lambda will not be equal to 0, and hence we can say that that is a dispersive medium. So dispersive medium again classifies into normal and anomalous. So for normal, dVp by d lambda will be positive, and for anomalous, dVp by d lambda will be negative. So for normal, phase velocity will be greater than the group velocity, and for anomalous, phase velocity will be lesser than group velocity. You can directly use this positive and negative terms over the relation, and you can find if it is greater or lesser. You can compare that. So let us see the significance of Vp and Vg when I have a particle. Like let me say that I have a particle and I have to find the velocity using my phase velocity and group velocity, and I have to like conclude which velocity is equal to my particle's velocity. Okay, so these are few common terms, quantities taken over here. So I'm going to solve for phase velocity over here. So I know that Vp is equal to E by P, and I have given E and P over here. So I'm going to consider this E and P, and I get C square by V. So Vp by I can just write this C square as C into C, and I'm taking one of the C in the denominator. So Vp by C will be equal to C by V. Now C is 3 into 10 power 8. And obviously our velocity, whatever the velocity is, it will be lesser than the velocity of light. So this ratio C by V will be always greater than 1. Okay. So because the denominator will be always lesser than C, therefore C by V will be always greater than 1. So I can say that Vp by Vc will be greater than 1. which says that Vp is greater than c. Can any velocity be greater than the velocity of light till now? No. So it is impossible. So this phase velocity has no significance on our particle velocity. So let us solve the group velocity. We know d omega by dq, which is d by dp. So now I'm going to use this e square relation and I'm going to find dE by dP. So when I find dE by dP, I get mvc square, like I've substituted everything, and after solving I get dE by dP is equal to v. It says that my group velocity is equal to velocity of the particle. So I can basically say that group velocity is always equal to the particle's velocity, whereas phase velocity has no significance over our particle velocity. So phase velocity, when you compare it with our particle's velocity, has no significance. It is not important. Whereas group velocity is equal to our particle's velocity. So these were few important points and formulas for the phase velocity, group velocity, and Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So I hope you like this information. So if you like this video, please share and also do not forget to subscribe. This is my Telegram channel also given over here. So let's see in the next video. Ta-da!